everyone. Welcome to a brand new season of Talent in Talks. I'm Soumya Dubey from the Economic Times HR world, and I'm thrilled to be your guide as we navigate the ever evolving world of talent management. The future of work is here, and it demands to be agile, data driven HR practices, and much more. Gone are those days of one size fits all approaches. Today's workforce is multi generational, if I could say multi dimensional, and their expectations are continuously evolving. In this ordeal, we are here to equip you with the tools and insights you need to navigate this exciting new landscape. In this path breaking series, we feature fireside chats with some of the brightest minds in talent management. And along with that, we also delve into the trends, challenges, and opportunities. Today's episode tackles a crucial question: how organizations bridge the gap between talent and evolving job requirements. Buckle up because we have two incredible guests joining in this conversation. First, we have Jyoti Dadlani, the regional head, West India, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. And alongside her, we welcome Dilip Patnaik, President and CHRO, Steel and Corporate JSW.
Thank you.
And without any further delay, let's dive into this enlightening conversation. For my viewers, please share your thoughts in the comments as we embark on this learning journey together. And I'm pleased to pass on the frame to Jyoti now.
Thanks, Soumya. So, Dilip, my first question to you is: you're at the helm of one of India's largest, steel, I would say, conglomerate, diversified conglomerate. So, in that context, what does talent mindset mean to you, and how are you cultivating this, in this large group?
Jyoti, that's a very interesting question. And the way I look at talent, Jyoti, is that every employee in the organization is a talent. You need everyone, right? That is how you operate your business. Now, it is the leadership lens with which you look at every individual and figure out who is the right fit for the right role. And when we look at that, what differentiates people within the organization is basically their attitude, their aspiration, and how do we take care of them? By providing the right learning opportunities, by providing the right career opportunities. And that is where I always talk to our leaders and we say that we should not only focus on top talent. While we focus on them to develop them, we should look at every individual in this organization to be a key contributor in the growth of the organization.
Yeah. No, I think thank you for sharing that. I think when you said everybody is talent, I think that's such an important one because sometimes learning programs are just kind of looked at from a high potential perspective. So I love that you said that we want to look at learning and career opportunities for everybody, and everybody is a key contributor, right? And that's what's going to hopefully drive growth and innovation within the company.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that. You aspire to be the top 25 great places to work. They're ambitious growth targets, as you said. You also shared that, you're part of the growth story of India. So how are you kind of looking at this to attract talent? And of course, communicating this, right? Like from an employer value proposition, how are you looking at attracting talent and how are you looking at communicating some of these unique value proposition that you have? So are there any examples or initiatives that you're currently doing? Would love to hear, what are you doing, on digital platforms, other platforms to showcase some of this across India, right? And the globe.
So, Jyoti, last year, that is 2023, we were amongst the one of those recognized India's best employees among nation builders in the GPTW survey. And we take pride in that because we as a group, we are in the core infrastructure sector, whether it is steel, it is energy, it is infra, that is our port business, cement. We are in the core infrastructure sector. And the country is in a development mode and is moving towards becoming from a developing nation to a developed nation. So we contribute in the building of the nation, and therefore we take pride that our larger purpose is whatever is good for India is good for JSW. Having said that, I think what is important to be amongst the top 25 great place to work is to create a workplace which is of trust, which is fair, where people are respected, where there is empowerment, where people get an opportunity to fulfill all their aspiration at one place. And that is the advantage of being in a large conglomerate, because there are diverse opportunities available to everyone.
Yeah.
And there are multiple initiatives that we have taken, and it is not only about the trust, fairness, respect, empowerment, and all that we talk about, but the core of our organization is the culture that we have created, and this culture have evolved from the set of values that we have in the organization.
Yeah.
And the core values are commitment, courage, agility, compassion, and collaboration.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we have been very clearly cascading these values, and not only the leaders practice it, but we also make sure that everybody who comes into the organization goes through a very immersive learning on the values and what are the key do's and don'ts in the organization.
Yeah.
To build this great place to work, what is also important is to make sure that we create an organization which is built on diversity. And for the time being, the focus is on gender diversity. And to me, an organization should reflect the society. And if the society comprises of, say, for example, 945 females to 1,000 males, technically an organization should reflect that. But obviously, in the core manufacturing sector, there is a time left when you actually reach there. But we are focusing a lot on diversity. We are breaking a lot of stereotypes. If you look at some of our plants, they are today being run by, the shop floors are run by women employees.
Yeah.
We have our Odisha mines where even the heavy mining equipment operators are women who very proudly are operating those equipments.
Yeah.
So we are clearly demonstrating that diversity is not only in the office, but it is also out there on the shop floor, so that people can see how our women folks can contribute towards the core business of the group. So a lot of people might talk about trust and empowerment, but how do you really reflect and make people believe that this is something you practice? So whatever are our values or whatever are the things that we want to really practice, we put it through some of our policies. And one of the examples that I would like to share is maybe about a year back, we wanted to review our domestic travel policy, right? And in a typical manufacturing organization, you have the systems of approvals, right? If you go on tour and all those things.
Yeah.
So when we reviewed that policy, we said that how do we build in empowerment and trust into this policy more than the content of the policy? So we said that let us do away with all approvals. So first is it reflected that people are empowered to make decisions for themselves in the organization. Second is that we trust you and we don't need to validate. Right. So these are some of the ways in which the softer aspects
Yeah.
are getting communicated and practiced in the organization.
Yeah.
And I think these are the things, smaller things, which help build the larger purpose around creating a great place to work.
Yeah. No, I think very, very, very well said that the culture and creating a workplace of trust, fairness, I think that's such a critical part of, an employee value proposition. Even the focus on diversity, I think that's where we are a little similar, right? You want, even we look at it from a workplace perspective, from a LinkedIn, we want we want our workforce to be representative of our member platform. So looking at that angle from a diversity perspective, it should be reflective of society. I think that's such a great share. Uh, and yeah, I mean, the whole, how does that come into play as you attract talent or as you think about what kind of people you want to get into the company? So, how do you look at incorporating some of that as you think about hiring externally, of course?
Yeah, so externally, when we hire people, and Jyoti, of late, we have started to believe that it is important to build talent than buy talent.
Yes.
And in the last 3, 4 years, we have been extensively hiring people at the entry level as graduate engineers and management trainees. We go to almost all the top colleges, about 1,200 to 1,500 GTs every year, and about 150 to 200 management trainees every year to meet the talent demand and the building the leadership pipeline.
Yeah.
So when we get into this as a part of our assessment, whether it is through tests or it is through personal interactions, we have certain validations that we carry out to see whether people are aligned to these overall values or not. Because you might get a very bright person, but finally, if you come into a manufacturing sector, it is very important. You need to work in a team, right?
Yeah.
You need to be aligned to the values. So there are processes through which we validate,
Yeah.
and it becomes a very important and integral part. Similarly, in all our leadership, so we run various leadership programs in the group, whether it's a future fit leader, whether it is a technical leadership program, springboard for women, senior leadership development programs. All these programs again have a revalidation of the values, because it's very important that people live the values of the organization, because these are the values which have been through which the organization has been built so far.
No, I think it's great to see the focus on values and even the even the strategy, right? I think we tend to sometimes look so much into education, experience, how what is the pedigree of the person, but I love the focus on, getting entry level talent, building them. So what a great share. I think it's important. You don't have that industry focus, you don't have that experience, but you're actually working on getting in people and nurturing them and building them. So I think thank you for sharing that, the focus on build versus buy. So how are you driving these, right? Obviously, people coming in, you need to constantly learn and upskill, especially some of the new joinees as well. So how are you building that culture of learning while they're coming in fresh, and of course they're upskilling, going through different programs. So are your senior folks in different programs. But how are you trying to build like a culture of learning, right? So, of course, there are lots of other themes, as you said, things like sustainability, things like digital focus. So, how are you thinking about really building this culture of learning within the organization?
Yeah. So before coming into the learning bit, Jyoti, it is important to understand how we have structured the organization, because today, if you really look at JSW Group, we are almost 36,000 people on roll and approximately 85,000 associates in this country, right?
Yeah.
And it's important that we need to adopt, at least on the HR side, we have adopted a very robust digital platform
Yeah.
to not only do provide good candidate experience to people that we look at from outside, but also good employee experience for people to really avail of all the HR services. And that is where we have really leveraged platform to its maximum. And through this platform, we have created something called as our learning platform. And our philosophy is that learning should be on demand.
Yeah.
Learning should be as far as possible, based on the aptitude and the appetite of every individual employees, and it should not be thrust upon them. But at the same time, all avenues should be available to them. We have programs which are on our learning platform. which are on the behavioral side, leadership side, managerial skills side. And recently we have launched the JSW Steel Virtual Technical Academy, which is like a university for learning steel making. There are 12 different schools of steel technology, and every school has an internal subject matter expert who is the dean of that virtual academy. So it is, the contents are available, people are encouraged to go learn.
Yeah.
They are part of the technical leadership program. So there are multiple things that we are doing to make sure that we provide people with all the opportunity to upskill themselves.
Yeah.
Because if they don't upskill, then obviously they'll not be able to contribute effectively to the organization.
Yeah. How are you thinking about tying a lot of these upskilling, a lot of upskilling that you're doing to say career growth opportunities? Because our research shows that people are invested in learning, while of course you can continue to say that you need to upskill, but people are focused on learning when they see outcomes towards careers and advancement. So how are you thinking about that? And I'd love to hear some examples, or if there's anything within the group you're doing to just tie that investment in learning or the upskilling that you're doing, because you're giving them so many platforms, right? You want to keep it open. So how are you tying that to say maybe career outcomes for them?
So Jyoti, we follow a principle called internal job market
Yeah.
in the organization, and any job that comes up in the group is advertised internally, and people, irrespective of the vertical in which they are, can apply for the job if they have the right skills. So they understand if they have acquired a skill, then there might be an opportunity within the group to really apply and get that job if they have the right skill. So I think this is one way of linking it up.
Yeah.
The second way is we have, as I told you, various leadership programs like Future Fit Leaders, Talent Pool, Senior Leadership Development Programs, Technical Leadership Programs, Springboard for Women. So people know that once they are part of this program and they go through various leadership intervention, they need to continuously build their skills so that they get internal opportunities to move very in an accelerated path into leadership roles. So there are well-defined mechanisms based on which learning is appropriately rewarded for people to being updated.
The skills are most important for any job, and through those programs, I think you're kind of working on tying it to outcomes. What do you think is the role of, say, maybe soft skills and perhaps, even e-learning? The reason I'm asking that is because we're seeing different generations in the workplace. Different people like to learn differently. Different people like, there's some people who might like classroom. There's some people who like to learn at their own pace. So what's the role of, I think, the soft skills as you think about, growing talent for the future for JSW, and what's the adoption like for some, like in e-learning? I know you're doing a lot, but what's the adoption for e-learning looking like, and where are you seeing that acceleration of adoption happening?
So, so most of our content today is on the e-learning platform. While we have blended learning courses, right? We have blended of classroom, certain instructor-led online as well as e-learning. But I think where learning is moving to, and with the new generation, the way we are looking at their span of attention is very small, right? So bite-sized learning is catching up. And what we have recently done in the past is 10 minutes at 10 a.m., right? Is what our learning academy has been propagating for the last few months, and it has caught up very well. We are looking at that adoption.
Yeah.
That at 10 a.m., people know you can catch up for 10 minutes on something new on the software behavioral side. And so one has to be innovative, but what I always believe is, and I have been telling our learning leaders that we need to follow this classical concept of MESSI, that is mutually exclusively, collectively exhaustive, so that bite-sized learning should be there. But at the same time, once they complete the entire bite-sized learning, they should be able to comprehend the whole subject. So that is one piece. The second is that how do we create this bite-sized learning to provide learning on demand? If they are on the workplace doing something,
Yeah.
they immediately need to refer, then is something available for them to refer so that they learn and then they immediately implement so that the retention is high.
Yeah.
And one
So
of
well
the
said, right? The flow of
yeah,
work is so important.
correct. So that is something which is becoming more and more important from a learning perspective. Nobody today has the attention. I don't go through a YouTube video of 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is where reels come in very, very handy.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. I think attention spans. Uh, I think bite-sized learning, great. Uh, I like the way you're thinking about this. 10 minutes at 10 a.m. so simple, but to break down learning into an everyday habit versus
Yeah,
a one-time thing which comes top down, I think fantastic. And the flow of work also so important, right? Because it's not only about doing those courses, but also application. So
correct.
having the right kind of learning at the right time, extremely critical. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm so glad to see you're thinking of all of this. It's extremely inspiring to see how much is being done from a learning perspective in your organization. uh, I'm now going to bring up a topic I think which we're hearing a lot: AI. uh,
Okay.
we are seeing it cause a lot of disruption in different industries, in the HR space as well. So, what role do you think AI is already playing or may play as you think about recruiting and upskilling people? So, what's the role you think it's playing? Would love to hear some examples, even if you want to share within the group. How are you thinking of this? But it is something we're seeing that's accelerating how skills are changing. And it is kind of changing the way things are, right? With platforms like ChatGPT, there's so much that can be automated. So, curious to hear your perspective on AI.
No, so I think everybody today is talking about AI. Many have also started using it, and we are no exception, right?
Yeah,
We need to leverage technology because that is the way to go. And some of the common usage of Gen AI is, of course, today in recruiting is around
yeah,
creating a JD, doing the skill taxonomy, looking at the skill ontology, looking at how do you look at your internal database for talent identification, how do we create the right candidate experience. So there are many such, I think, usage which is happening. But going forward,
yeah.
the real usage of AI that I would like to prefer to do will be more around in the talent management side. Because from an organization standpoint, today our core priority today is talent.
Yes.
And Jyoti, it is not only about being talent sustainable in terms of you have all the right talent in place,
Yeah.
but also about identifying leaders, identifying future leaders, grooming them, finding out what are the skill gaps, how do we fill those skill gaps. And I think technology would be able to do all of those.
Yeah.
We have adopted, we run on the HR platform called Darwin Box, and
Yeah.
I think I have been in touch with the founders, and we have been doing a lot of work around this
Yeah.
together to make sure that we create something which is useful to us as an organization. A lot of this Gen AI stuff, we would also be, utilizing to do some inciting.
Yeah.
So from dashboards to inciting, so that uh, when if I as a leader want to know something about my talent, can I just put a query there and say that every 15 days, please give me insight?
Yeah.
Because today nobody has the time. Earlier, people were talking about dashboard as the in thing, right? Today, nobody goes and looks at the dashboard. Today,
Yeah.
people are looking at a snippet on some insight which should come. And I think that is the biggest leverage for Gen AI that I would like to create for all my line leaders, so that they own talent and they understand that as leaders, they need to contribute towards making talent sustainable.
Yeah. No, I think such an interesting approach. I think talent sustainability. I think you brought a lot of things like how can we identify skill gaps? How can we use some of our insights, right? There's so much data we generate. How do we look at some of that as well internally as well as externally? And is there a way to tie those sources and sort of empower your leaders? So I think very, very well shared from a talent sustainability perspective. Of course, we're hearing and we are investing a lot. How critical do you think adapting to AI will be? Like as you think about your talent, how critical you think AI upskilling might be for, let's say, JSW as an organization?
So I think JSW as an organization, we have been a front runner on the technology side with adoption of digital in every sphere of the organization, not only on the people side, but every sphere. And therefore, we have segregated our CIO from the CDO. So we have a CDO role in the organization, right? And we have all the functional COEs within the CDO. So adaptation of digital is very important. We run multiple programs for leaders on digital literacy and digital adoption. So this is not an option here. This is a must-have because this is the way the organization will run, is running now, and will be adopting at digital at a faster rate going forward, whether it is on the manufacturing process side or on the functional side. So everyone understands that it is a must-have.
Yeah. No, I completely share that sentiment. It's a must-have. We don't know how jobs of the future will be. We've seen our research shows that there were jobs that didn't, like if we look at jobs now, the most in demand jobs, they didn't exist 10 years ago. So we're seeing things like diversity, sustainability come to the forefront. So we don't know 10 years later how it is, but I think digital will have its own play in different functions and different organizations. But thank you for sharing that. I think there's so much goodness in this conversation. With that, I'm done. So is there anything you would generally like to share that we've not covered? Anything that you would, any messaging that you think from a talent perspective, people can really think about, or anything that you feel like maybe that one tip as people think about the talent mindset, any kind of tip that you would like to share with them from your experience, from your work with a company like JSW, anything that you would like to share?
No, I think, Jyoti, we have pretty much covered everything, but I think I would like to end with what I started with, that everyone in the organization is talent. And we need to actually identify the strength of every individual and put them in the right job. Only then we'll figure that out, that they are contributing in the right earnest.
Perfect. I think that shows in your retention rates as well, and the way JSW is growing and the kind of purpose people feel with the organization. So thank you again for this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Dilip and Jyoti, I think this has been an exhilarating exchange. Your brilliance, your on-point views really got us pumped and thinking. So thank you so much for all the candor. We've learned a lot. Once again, I'm going to thank you on the part of our viewers. This has been like a fun exchange. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Soumya. Thank you,
so
Jyoti.
much.
Great. And on that note, it's a big thank you to the audience as well for being a part of this conversation today. You can reach out to our speakers for further exploration on this transformative theme. I'm sure you've learned lots, just like me. Keep your eyes peeled for more captivating discussions coming in store on this season. Thank you so much once again.